The clock is ticking. It is now within reaching distance for the NFL draft to begin. Your Kansas City Chiefs will be on the clock soon. Maybe not as soon as you want, maybe sooner than you expect. We're going to talk about all that today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of the podcast network that you know is Locked On, that we are free on every platform every day just for you, including YouTube. If you would like, sub, and hit the bell on that platform, we'd appreciate it. Check out Spotify and all the audio platforms as well. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, your host at a number of places, but Rogue APC is the place where you get the Matrix and the draft guide and all the good stuff. Plus, you'll be able to see some of that on our brand new live stream for the NFL draft with a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of all the network people that you've come to know, whether it's the Broncos hosts or hosts that you've never seen. They're all going to be on the show with us tomorrow in our super duper Locked On Network stream over on the Locked On NFL channel. You can find that anywhere, and including both of our timelines at Ryan Tracy NFL and at Chris Clark, or sorry, Chiefs Corner is the site that we're using today. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well, sir, and I know you're a little tired. You have been busy today getting ready for this draft. And really quick, as Ryan said, Chiefs Corner is my Twitter handle. KC Chiefs Corner is the website. Go check it out. I got a couple of mock drafts that a lot of people seem to be reading over the past couple of days there. I actually used Ryan's APC model for this last draft, as well as adding in, what I think about the players. So a little bit there as well. Going to be diving deep into the draft tomorrow and getting probably another mock draft out, maybe two, we'll see. And then really once the draft starts, just kind of diving in and really going into each pick and seeing the different things that are going to be coming out. Really trying to figure out exactly where I'm going to go with that. But I do know that I will be tweeting out probably, first-year contract numbers for most of the players. So just something to throw out there.
Oh, it's a piece of the puzzle, and I like seeing it. The puzzle is getting more and more complex as we record this within 24 hours of the draft. Things are starting to heat up. We're hearing about the Chiefs looking to move around, and I've got it from several sources that they're looking to move up in this draft. That opens a can of worms, really, not only in what are you looking to do in terms of positionality or a specific player, but what's the compensation? We need to talk about that. A, do you think that this should be definitely the thing that they do? And B, do you think that they're working hard in order to move up with a pick, both picks, or just with a specific target in mind?
I think they have a specific target in mind, maybe a couple of specific targets that they want to try to get to, depending on where they think they can try to get. But I want to step back just a second, and we do want to talk about value. We do want to talk about whether or not they're going to get there. But we keep hearing, and there's been many different rumors on Twitter and different people talking about it. Albert Breer, Peter King, lots of different people talking about it on NFL Draft Twitter right now, that Kansas City is looking to move up for a wide receiver. Now, I have some people that tell me that why go out and go get a top wide receiver because Patrick Mahomes can make you look good as being the best QB in the NFL. I would like to go with the other argument of why would you try to strip him and make him Aaron Rodgers? This generation's Aaron Rodgers. That's
a very, very good way to look at it, unless you happen to be a Packers fan. But
right. Which most of the people watching probably shouldn't be. So
right,
my daughter would probably kill me for that, but that's okay.
I look at it this way: you've spent the money, you've got the Ferrari in the garage. Let's not go put like the cheap all season tires on it. Like, you want to get the Pirellis with all the super tread. Like, you want to spend the money on the things that make that Ferrari better. And that is weapons that can not only fit into the offense, but can actually stretch the limits of the offense, can make it that much better.
I have to laugh because I actually had Pirellis on my car, but that's a whole different ballgame. But I like what you're saying, and where I'm really going with this, and we talked about this, I think, on Tuesday, that the draft capital, the smartest thing to do with draft capital is to go get a QB, then wide receiver, then edge, and then left tackle. In this case, it sounds like they already have the QB. So in this case, they're going to try to go up and get a wide receiver. And to me, I think it is worth it, because if you get a guy that you think is close to a generational talent, which is why you would be moving up to go do this.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a generational talent, but close. If you think you can be a top 10, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL total, then you go up and you make this move.
Yeah. I mean,
it completely changes your offense for the future.
It does. And it pairs it at a cost-controlled rate that you can maximize what that Ferrari is and continue to add to it. And that's what it comes back to. It's not just that you have to make that car be the workhorse to make everything else better. You also have to like kind of pamper it, baby it, because, you know, it is a really expensive car. As we all understand that Patrick Mahomes' right arm is, that's the way that it goes. And I think that it's a legitimate concept to go for what you think is, whether you think it's a generational talent or not, you got to go for the best talent that you can get to put on the field this coming season. Yeah. They did that in free agency and grabbed what they felt could do that. Now they can top it off with something bigger, better, faster, stronger, et cetera, et cetera. It remains to be seen there. But I also want to say that there's a lot of comparisons to what the Chiefs did to get Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk about that on the backside, because I got to tell you that, you know, Mother's Day is coming and you guys got to get the right gift for the right woman, whether it's your wife, your mom, your daughter, whoever it is. There's a lot going on, and we have a way to actually help you with that, because Mother's Day gifting is challenging at times. So you can give her something special, something unique that's a forever treasure from our friends at BlueNile.com. And our Chiefs listeners get between $50 and $500 off of that particular rock, gem, bracelet, whatever you're looking for. It's a podcast exclusive, and it only goes through Mother's Day, so you need to check it out. The code is Locked On, and that gets you in the door to get those savings depending on what you're looking for. The code Locked On Plus, every order is insured. It ships free. It's in a discreet package, so you can keep it from her, and you don't have to be terrible at secrets like I am. Maybe you have a better chance. And that, it won't give it away, so that you have a chance of getting it, to get that super reaction that you're looking for. It lets you shop stress-free and helps you, and it's all at BlueNile.com. So go over there and check them out today. The code is Locked On at BlueNile.com. So I want to go back to the argument, because I hear this every time we talk about this topic.
Yeah, I just want to throw this out real quick. One thing that really is a big thing to me, and when you're looking at doing this type of trade up, is you look at the age of the players that you're looking at. The top 4 wide receivers are either 20 or 21. There's only one wide receiver in that group that will be 22 when the season starts. That's Garrett Wilson. The rest of them are going to be 21 when the season starts. So that is a huge deal. And we're talking about the top 4 wide receivers. We're not talking about a guy like Treylon Burks, which I guess some people would say is a top. And I guess Olave, well, yeah, some people would say he's a top wide receiver. Burks anyway, but I agree with you. I don't think he is. Olave will also be 22. I apologize. So Garrett Wilson and Olave will be 22 when the season starts. Jameson Williams and Drake London will both be 21.
Yeah, I mean, Drake's 20 right now.
But he turns 21 before the season starts. So
right. But that's an even bigger advantage there. And that goes into what they call breakout age. That's a legitimate metric that it seems to be very specific to wide receivers, as people have done the research over the years. You can check out reception perception from Matt Harmon. I know he talks about it a bit. There are a lot of folks that put a lot of research into that specifically for the pass catchers, and it holds true. So there is that aspect of it. I would say this too, and this is the main thing that I wanted to discuss, because if you're looking at true value, you have to be able to spend what you think is value in order to do what you need to do in this draft.
Yep.
In my opinion, it's completely unfair and unrealistic to compare, oh, you can't trade up to 14 and give up 2 picks and this and that to go get the receiver that you want, when you gave up something less so in order to go to 10 to get Patrick himself. That was a different year in a different draft with different values and different grades on every prospect in it. It's not apples to apples. And I think while there are certain like parallels, the trade chart and all that stuff, like it's not set in stone. So don't worry about what they have to give up. The fact is, the wide receivers, the edges, and the tackles are the top tier of the talent in this draft. And if you have to go somewhere to get them, the price is going to be what the price is going to be for that selection. It has nothing to do with Patrick being drafted 3-4 years ago.
Right. And really quick, the last thing I want to say on the age thing, the thing I like about them being as young as they are is they would be 26 or 27 when they come up for their next contract, because you would figure that you're going to get the 5th-year option already. So that's a huge deal, because 26 or 27 as opposed to 28, 29, you're having to give them a second contract. Don't want to be doing that.
And they've shown that they won't. You have Tyreek Hill, arguably the best receiver in football, at least one of the top 3, and he just said 28's too much. We're not doing it.
Yep.
So you have to be able to continually reload with young talent, not just talent, but young talent.
And before we go any further, I do want to say I don't think this precludes them, even if they do move up to go get a wide receiver, I don't think it precludes them from taking a second wide receiver in this class.
Absolutely not.
Because they're showing that they need a wide receiver. They feel like they need a wide receiver if they're going to trade up and go get one. I think that they need multiple, and I think that they know they need multiple.
And again, it's because you can't overspend in free agency because of your cap situation. So you have to look at this. So more investment early, I think, makes a lot of sense. And there are several spots in this draft, even on day 3. There's multiple tiers in day 3 where you can get some value that you think can contribute to this roster. Can they be a number 1 receiver in the 5th round? It's unlikely, but they can still contribute because the ranks are still pretty thin. We have to be honest about this. They need 6 of them. I mean, if you're talking about Therese Fountain taking over special teams duties as the 6th wideout, there's room to sneak somebody else in there if they can win the job. And that's you have to make selections that can win the job. And so I will say this. When it comes to trade value, we'll talk about that in the next segment. It isn't necessarily about picking where they are. They don't have a 5th or a 6th round pick right now. They could certainly acquire one of those as they seek to move some things up. Compensation can then bring something lower to them back as part of the package that is certainly within the realm of possibility.
Yep. And I also will say that just because they move up to get a wide receiver, I'm guessing they keep both 1st-round picks. Obviously, we don't know that at this point, but I'm guessing they keep both 1st-round picks, or at least, I think they're going to end up keeping both 1st-round picks, but they may trade out of 30. They may trade back. They may say, okay, well, we traded up to go get a wide receiver. Maybe we get some of that capital back, because you're going to have a bunch of teams at the end of the 1st round that want to come up for a QB that's still sitting there, whether it's Desmond Ridder or Matt Corral or whoever else is going to be there. But somebody's going to want that 5th-year option on a QB, and they'll probably pay a premium to get it.
Yeah, and that's what you got to bank on. So the question becomes, what could these trades look like, and just how far up do you want to go? What are you trying to get accomplished? We'll talk about that as well.
And if you were going to make a prop bet as to if they're going to go trade up, this is the place you would go do that. That would be BetOnline. Go check out our friends out at betonline.net. It is your number 1 source for all betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start of something called Major League Baseball. I guess it's still out there. Oh. Yeah, NHL's there as well. I actually like the NHL. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. And you can do draft prop bets as well, so check that out. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Man, there's so much to talk about when it comes to this draft and this team. I do think that they're going to be making a lot of moves. So I think that this is going to be a very exciting draft. And this is the big thing for me, is that this is what's going to set them up for 2023, 2024, and 2025. This draft has the ability to set them up for the next 3 years. And I'm not saying that it's not going to help them in 2022. It should, but maybe not as much as it's going to help them in the next 3.
Well, we also have to guard against the fact that we saw so much contribution from the last year's rookie class.
Yep.
We'd be careful about setting that expectation too high. Now, obviously, with this number of picks, you have to think that you're going to get more total snaps from your rookie class in this coming year than you got last season. That's not out of the realm of possibility, but we don't know if we're going to take all those picks. So what we have to get back to is, where are you taking them? What are you trying to accomplish? And from what we're hearing, it's about the wide receivers. So the question becomes, just how high up do you want to go? And how does it equate to what you're trying to accomplish?
I keep seeing there's a lot of different things out there this year that haven't been there in the past. ESPN has a very cool analytics thing that you can kind of go look at and use and try to see where they think players are going to go. and they'll give you a pretty good idea based on a whole bunch of different simulations and analytics that go into it. I think they have Jameson Williams going at 12 or 13. I personally think that it's possible he goes as high as 8 or 9. I don't know. It's really hard to know where he's going to go, because if you look at a team like the Falcons, they're one of the first teams that could absolutely use a wide receiver on that list, that don't have other big, huge needs that are going to get taken. Yes, they need a QB. I don't think they take one that early, but they absolutely need a wide receiver. They don't have any wide receivers, so they're probably going to take one, or they could take one. Are they going to go with Jameson Williams, or are they going to go somewhere else?
That's the question mark. So what you're saying is right now they could trade up to the Jets, who they had discussion with about Tyreek Hill. They could trade up to 10 and still not get Jameson if that's their target.
Yeah, I mean, they could trade up to – I mean, they could be – I think the Seahawks are going to be wanting to move back, honestly. I think that's a team that was going to want to move back. Atlanta might want to move back as well. Lots of teams seem to want to move back, maybe even Carolina. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Carolina makes sense. I think the Jets make sense. I think the Vikings make sense, as well as the Ravens a little bit. I don't think the Ravens are going to want to deal with them. I could be wrong. But I think prime would be the Vikings. We've heard that they want to move out. The question is that high enough? If you're targeting Jameson Williams, maybe it's not. If you're targeting or the guy that you're in love with is Drake London or Chris Olave, maybe you're okay. I personally feel that Garrett Wilson should go off the board first. Will he? I don't know.
That's the key, though. Yeah. He probably should, but the question is, will he? Because everybody has their different boards and has their different tastes, and that's the big question when it comes down to all of this, and that's where I'm not sure. I've looked at, it seems like 1,000 mocks at this point. It's just never ending. But Garrett Wilson comes off the board first in most of those. Drake London's starting to go first in a couple of them, but I've also seen Jameson Williams, but it's been very little. So the question is who are they after? Top 4 wide receivers: Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Jameson Williams, and Chris Olave. They're more than likely after one of those 4 guys.
Yeah.
If they want Jameson Williams, maybe you have to go to 9, maybe you have to go to 10. If you want Chris Olave, maybe you want to go to 16, 17. I don't know where the sweet spot is for that. Drake London, I think, is still 9 or 10 as well. And Garrett Wilson could be 9 or 10, depending. It just really depends on the team.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. You got to get in front of the other hungry teams. Yep. Let's not forget that the Green Bay Packers are trying to work trades tonight as well. And they will be all day tomorrow as you guys are hearing this or watching this. It is all ongoing. So it is a jockeying kind of thing. You might have something in the bag, but if the team that you know is trying to trade up goes above you, then you got to start all over again.
Well, Green Bay, I mean, Philadelphia, New Orleans, they're in a better position than Kansas City are. I mean, all 3 of them are.
And let's just say, let's not believe the hype that the New Orleans Saints tried to pass around, that we're not packaging picks to go up to get anybody. We're not interested in quarterbacks. Let's put that aside. Everything's on the table at this point.
It's all smoke.
It is. And I think the big thing is the trade up has to be for one of the players that can affect this offense. For me, there's 2 guys that can walk in and do that, in Jameson Williams and Garrett Wilson. There's another guy in Drake London that can help change it, but it also requires a change in both the coaching staff and the way that Andy Reid calls and designs plays, and the quarterback being more willing to throw into a tighter window on a guy that has to win at the catch point, not with separation.
Yep.
I think that's a little bit more difficult. Now, you also have a smaller receiver in Olave that I think is less of a trade-up candidate for me. If I'm working the board, I can't give up the assets for him because of a couple of the things that he doesn't do that well. He doesn't survive contact that well. He doesn't have the yak that I want as a possibility to part of his game. He's super smooth and he gets open and he catches.
I was going to say he's the best route runner in the class, though.
Exactly,
and so that really plays into Reid's system.
It does, and so that's a value for him, but it's not a top 10 value.
Well, that's fair. I'm not saying top 10, but I don't think you can get him at 29. I don't know you can get him in the 20s.
Agreed.
So if you want to get Olave, you're going to be looking at 16, 17. And I understand the Chargers pick at 17. I'm not saying they're going to pick there. I'm just saying that's about the range I expect him to go. Could be all the way to 20. Who knows? But
I'll tell you what I also like too. If you're going to trade up, if we're talking about trading into the top 10, You're talking about giving up the bulk of what you got for Tyreek Hill.
I'm okay with that.
It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a wide receiver.
It's true.
If you get to 6 and Trayvon Walker's on the board, or even Kayvon Thibodeau, I would take Walker over Thibodeau just in terms of long-term functionality. But if one of them is still on the board and you've traded to 6, all of a sudden you have that option. You don't necessarily have to go for the wide receiver.
Yeah, that would be huge value in getting that guy. And I don't know that either of those guys are going to be there at 6.
Maybe not.
I think the only guy that they could possibly get there at 6 is probably going to be Jermaine Johnson. And I don't think you want to go that high for him.
Probably not.
He's a good edge, but I don't think he's that good. So, if you could maybe get him in, 12 or 13, maybe that's something that you look at. But I just can't see them going all the way up to 6 for him.
I just finished my top 50 list for the draft broadcast, folks. Make sure you check that out. It's going to be on the Locked On NFL YouTube channel, as well as all over all the Tegna streaming services and Roku. But I want to pull that up just for a second because I want to double check. Of course, it won't actually open for me. I actually have Jermaine Johnson in the teens. So I agree with you there. That's not the target if we're going into the top 10
right
on my board.
Right. But I'm afraid that it's looking at the way the draft, at least most of the way that people think the draft is going to go, all 3 of those edges are going to be gone by 6.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well. But you never know. I could see Kayvon Thibodeau falling.
Yeah, maybe. If he does, I think that's a huge value pick that you could go get, and you have a huge difference maker at the edge position going forward. And you could probably get a wide receiver at 30. Maybe you reach for one at 30, but you could get a wide receiver at 30.
So bottom line, what's your expectation? What do you think that they do?
In the end, my issue with this whole thing is there is so much smoke. Teams know that there's going to be so much smoke. I think teams know that they're going to be wanting to move up. So if somebody else wants Jameson Williams, they're going to get him. If somebody else wants Drake London or, Garrett Wilson, they're going to get them. I mean, who knows who they're going up for? I think Jameson Williams fits their scheme the best, and I think that he could be the best wide receiver in this class. But that's my opinion. That might not be theirs. So to me, I think that they have the ability to get it done, but I don't know that they do get it done. Because I think that you're going to be looking at a situation where they're going to only want to give up a first, second, maybe a third round pick to go up and get him. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at going from, 8 or 9 or 7 all the way to 29, that's not that much compared to taking like a second round pick and only going to 15, which is where the Eagles are.
Agreed. It feels like this is going to be a 2-step maneuver. And I'm not talking about out of Billy Bob's, folks. I am talking about they have to make a deal to get into the teens, and then they have to make another deal, in my opinion. Because like you said, I don't think anybody wants to drop 20 spots. If they do, I'd be very interested to talk to that GM.
Yeah, and I could see it if they get a first, second, and third round pick, and even maybe a fourth. Because I think that Kansas City is going to be willing to offer a lot, because if you're trying to move up that far, you're going to have to give up that much just to move up regardless. It doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to have to give up a lot more than you really want to. Yeah. That's the reality of it.
And this is the year to do it because you have the capital to get it done. Yep. I think in the end, they pick at 10, and they do take that wide receiver. I think it is Jameson Williams. That's what I'm feeling right now tonight.
Well, and the one thing I will say is I don't expect them to give up much of the draft capital they have for next year. Because I think Brett Veach is starting to look at this and say, we're going to have to build through the draft. And they have 10 picks, I think, next year already. I would not shock me to see them gain 1 or 2 more picks this draft cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the smart way to do it.
Yeah, they need to move around the board, and I think that they will. And that's one of the things that I've really focused on with all these mocks that I've done is kind of showing you can move all around the board. You can still get value. You can still get good players. And if you can get enough in the second, third, and fourth rounds, you could add 5 or 6 starters to this team.
Yeah.
And I still count a third linebacker as a starter. I still count a third safety as a starter, to be quite honest.
In this team, sure.
Yeah, a third corner as a starter, obviously a third wide receiver. I mean, there's all different types there. So I do think you can get there. And I will say this again. I still think you can add a right tackle, which would be another starter. So there you go.
Folks, what is it? You're starting at 6 Central, correct? for the stream tomorrow night for you.
Yes.
Mainstream kicks off at 6:30 Central on the Locked On NFL channel. I will be on there with our entire hosting crew. Me, Eric Crocker, Peter Bukowski, Kanani, Isaiah's going to be there. Like, we're all going to be in studio. We're going to wire this thing out from you to start to finish. We're going to go through. You'll hear about the Matrix. You'll hear about our film graves. There's going to be a ton. Chris is going to set it all up here, and then you'll hear from us following as we get back into our special episodes for the draft as we've done every year. I hope that you guys are looking forward to it because there's a lot of work that's been put into this. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and congratulations, sir. I'm sure you're going to have a good time, and this is going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to being able to watch this draft, be able to watch you on stage on set with all those people, and then also being able to talk to all of you when the Chiefs make a pick.
Yes.
I think that's going to be exciting because I still have no idea where it's going to be.
Right? Yeah. It could be very early, so I'd be dressed and ready.
Yeah, it could be early. It could be late. Who knows?
So, folks, tune in because you will hear from both Chris and I when the Chiefs have made a selection on the main show for the NFL draft stream here on Locked On NFL channel on YouTube, as well as Roku and the other places that you can get it if you have the Tegna services over the air. So, better go get some sleep. It might be a barn burner. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you all for being with us. Chris, thanks for minding the shop while I'm gone, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow. Get ready. It's going to be a fun ride.